Welcome to Safari Live. This is the Sunset Safari. My name is Brent Smith. We have the very strange Andrew Francis on camera, and on the other vehicle is James Henry and Tebs, and in front of the control we have Nicky and Lou. It is a scorching day out here in the low part of South Africa. I have heard a rumor that my favorite animal, the wild dog, might be in this vicinity, so I'm checking our eastern boundary. If there's even a sniff of a hope that we can see some wild dogs, I will be in the area. And it is 35 degrees centigrade, 104 Fahrenheit. So steamy, steamy. So hopefully we'll find some eddies moving between the water points. And I know Tingana's tracks are still in the area to the south and west, and we'll definitely be following up there when it's a bit cooler. You can see we are marching down the northern boundary, looking for tracks. Unfortunately, none so far. And if you are wondering about what we are going to do, or anything you might have pondered about this wonderful African bush veld that we call home, send us a question on questions@wildearth.tv if you're into email, and if you're a bit more technologically advanced, use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. Good afternoon to Kyla, who's technologically advanced and using Twitter. Kyla would like to know if Quarantine was around, did we find him on the Sunrise Safari? Alas, dear Kyla, he ventured east across our boundary, so he's not around. Hopefully he'll be back for a visit in the not too distant future. But Tingana's tracks did cross into our area, and we tracked them for about 7 kilometers today, and we lost them around Treehouse Waterhole, so I'm hoping he's still in that area. I'm going to continue to check the northern boundary for the slightest chance of the African wild dog or painted wolf. And while we do that, let us go to the colourful James Henry, so he can bid you a good afternoon.
Far more colourful than I, everybody, is the Gymnogene, which unfortunately has just made an impossible flight out of the view of Tibbs, who's on camera today. Hello, Tibbs. Tibbs, give us a thumb. Show us who you are. There we go. There's Tibbs' thumb. So there's a Gymnogene flying just above us here, and I unfortunately threw Tibbs under the bus there. It was an almost impossible shot to get. My name is James Henry, and we are driving along here in the blinding heat of the low-veld midsummer. It is a very pleasant afternoon, mainly because there is a cloud covering the sky, which has been scorching the earth all day long. And we are heading towards Treehouse Dam, and I'm going there mainly because I know there's some mud there, and I'm hoping that the mud is going to contain a number of fascinating animals, perhaps also some weaver birds, which are around Treehouse Dam, some of my favorite birds. We had a competition, Brent and I did today, about the trying to find the most colorful bird that there was. Brent unfortunately won, which basically ruined my day. Anyway, I'm sort of over it today, almost. And what I think that with the competition this afternoon will be is to try and find the heaviest bird. There can be no dispute about that, and we can't make any subjective decisions about whether or not it's colourful or not colourful. So let's go with the heaviest bird this afternoon. On we go. The Gymnogene has gone. There is the cloud that is covering the sun. Long may it last. It's about 47 degrees Celsius here, 7,000 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly the same as the temperature in the middle of a volcano. I believe just before you went live, you saw people working on the pan that used to be called Peter's Pan. And Sharon, you're wondering where on earth Peter is. The so-named hippo from the pan there? I don't know, Sharon. I'm hoping that he's possibly found some larger water. I know that they are doing some hippo capture at Buffels Hook. I'm not sure where those hippo are going. They're probably being relocated to a sort of more watery reserve. And maybe Peter's gone up there because there are fewer hippo up there. There's a big dam there that perhaps he's gone to. Otherwise, we did see a lone bull hippo today that could have been Peter in a pan on the Arathusa airstrip. So that might be him. So anyone, difficult to say, very difficult to tell hippo apart from the scarring that they have. Thank you, Sharon, and welcome. And Heidi, you think Peter might be doing his Christmas shopping? Well, if he is, I hope he's buying me something. Tebs, what do you want from Christmas from Peter? A big pond. Right. Diane, very good question from you. What is on the hood? Diane, there are two things that you need to know about. The first is that ball full of GoPro cameras, and that is our virtual reality rig, and we are doing various experimental shoots with it. We're trying to get an idea. I don't know if you've ever used a virtual reality set of glasses before, but basically it's a 360-degree view of the bush. That's some very clever computer program, and indeed a very clever Russian that works with us, puts together, stitches it together, and it basically gives you the experience of a 360-degree view. So if you wear the glasses that or the special goggles, you can basically look around you in the same way that I'm doing now. So if you were watching it, for example, and you were watching me, and I said, point over there, you could turn your head and you'd look at exactly what I was looking at. It's the most incredible technology. It's all pretty much, I wouldn't say experimental, but it's certainly at the early stages, and so we're doing various experiments with it. And then this thing here, which looks like a box with a furry thing attached to the front of it, is a microphone, and that's so that we can record the sound nicely as well. And that's what's going on there. We're not recording anything at the moment. We're only going to do we've got some special sightings or very beautiful views, and we will record it with the virtual reality rig. So Wendy, for the next probably 4 or 5 weeks, is going to have this set up. Wendy is the vehicle I'm on, for those of you who are new viewers. Odd name for Land Rover, I know, but that's just the way it is. We're driving along here, and it is so beastly hot. Smart Redhead, another spectacular Twitter handle. You want to know how many gallons of sunscreen we go through every day. Tebs, I know you go through a few, 4 or 5 gallons perhaps. Now, I don't use that much. Normally, we'll put a little bit on before we drive now, and then if we do any exercise in the middle of the day, we'll put on some sunscreen. But you know, the sun now, it's 4 o'clock, and it's sort of shifted to an angle that it doesn't burn too much now. So in all seriousness, it's not an enormous amount. It's mainly because we're not out in the heat of the day. We're back home by 8 o'clock in the morning while it's hot, while it's coolish. We kind of take shelter under the shade, just like the animals out here do. Of course, the Twitter handle competition was won hands down today by somebody whose Twitter handle, I believe, is James Hendry Fan. Now, that, of course, is the ultimate Twitter handle in the world. So all the other Twitter handles will now have to compete for second place. Smart Redhead, you come close. What did we have? The other classic today out of Florida was Bubba Rednecks. That was another classic. It's astonishing. really 45 degrees centigrade, everybody. And Donna, your comment of holy hotcakes, Batman, it's warm over there. I'm going to use that, I think. It's not quite as hot as 45 degrees. It is apparently about 35 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is about 98, if I'm not mistaken. So it's still pretty warm. I think the lack of rain is making it that much warmer. And you know, every afternoon these clouds build a little bit and then they just dissipate. And it's starting to feel a bit droughish. And where's that tree? I'm just going to reverse quickly. I drove past this tree this morning and it was looking particularly miserable about life, and it still is. And I think that's because the water table is dropping slowly. I mean, look at this sad sack of a tree. This is a variable bush willow, and it is very clearly unhappy. You can see that its leaves are wilting and drooping more so than any of the others, and maybe it's just decided life is too much under the regime of heat and sun and no water that's going on here. Anyway, we shall watch the progress of this rather magnificent variable bush willow over the next little while, and hopefully it will recover. On we go. Treehouse waterhole, where with any luck there will be a great plethora of animals knocking about the mud. Gallons of sunscreen just now, and Lynn, you want to know how many gallons of gas we go through? Well, there are two interesting things to that question. The first is that we actually don't drive that far, and unless we are chasing wild dogs for miles and miles, we drive very slowly. So we probably put in 20 litres every 2 days or so. 20 litres is 4 gallons every 2 days, so 20 litres every 2 or 3 days. That's not too much. These are pretty thirsty cars, but that's not too much at all. What do I spy in front of us there? The other interesting thing about that, Lynn, of course, is that we don't talk about gas here. We talk about petrol. And then this morning we opened up at the hyena den, and there was a little 2-week-old cub, and looked very nervous for some reason, and she didn't want to come out, and her mother was there, and so smart redhead, you want to know how the cubs are doing. I think they're doing okay. I'm hoping to go back there a little bit later this afternoon. I'm sure one of Brent or I will go back, and we'll see what's going on there. In the meantime, let's go and catch up with Brent and see what he's doing. I will see you at Treehouse Dam just now.
Alas, no tracks on the boundary, which means they must be away to the north. And because it's so hot and dry, oh, it's not going to land. The butterfly, one we have seen, but is highly mobile in a southeasterly direction. Unfortunately, it has escaped. Was the joker. And who can remind me, how many butterfly species are we on now? I think we should be over 10. Has anyone been keeping a list? If you have, remind me how many butterfly species we're on, and you can send that through to questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. A diligent list keeper in Michigan, whose name is Mary. A warm welcome, Mary. Mary said at the end of the sunrise safari, for the last few seconds, we managed to find an incredibly beautiful bird, and that she's wondering what it is, so she can add it to her list. Mary is called a purple roller. Another name for it is a rufous crowned roller. And they are extremely beautiful, related to the lilac-breasted in Europeans. They're one of our resident roller species, so they're here all year round, like the lilac-breasted. And hopefully, there's a pair that we've seen on quarantine quite a lot. Hopefully we can add another roller to your list. I'm really hoping, although it's unlikely up here in the northern Sabi Sands, without any major rivers around, to see a broad-billed roller, and that will take all the rollers in the area that we get, or all the rollers we get in this area, to complete our WildEarth roller list, since I've been here at least. From the land or the town of some very great musicians, Memphis in Tennessee, and it's from Kathy Ward. And she said she heard I grew up on a game reserve. How old was I when I guided my first safari? Well, legally speaking, Kathy, I was 18, but there may have been 1 or 2 before I was of legal age. So 18 minus 2 would be the correct answer. But before then, I used to work as a tracker, and you've seen some of the other game drive vehicles have that seat on the front. I spent many a school holiday working for my dad on the tracker's seat, following all sorts of beasties around the bush. Very, very, very lucky upbringing I had. I'm very fortunate that my parents are quite adventurous and love the bush. All the little mud wallows we're going past are dry as a bone already after that little shower we had. And you can imagine, water is such an important thing from a person's point of view. Animals have a fair bit more stamina than us, and it was one of the greatest sort of challenges for the early explorers. And most early explorers, especially in southern Africa, came to their demise not at the hands of marauding elephants and man-eating lions or savage local tribes, but at the hand of lack of water. And we'll discuss some of them as we go through this sunset safari. We're gonna, oh no, they've flown away, but they were little scimitar-bills. But James Henry has got a very large beastie to show you, so we'll chat about the explorers a little later.
Right, there is an elephant, if you can believe it, disappearing through the bush there, and an animal is able to hide with such ease and move with such incredible silence. Right, 2 young bulls. There's one also off to our left-hand side over there. You might just be able to see him walking through the bush, and they were at Treehouse Dam, covering themselves in a bit of mud, and they're now moving off through the woodland, having a bit of a graze. So we'll try and keep up with them. They are young bulls, so they do seem to be a little bit nervous of the vehicle. That's why I'm keeping my distance for now, try and gain a bit of trust, and then with any luck they will just get on with life and ignore us completely. Here you can see young bulls, probably, I'd say only about 18 years old, maybe 20, but probably not quite yet. Right, let's look forward. Kind of driving, he's walking up that way, and this chap is walking straight in front of us. Now, the big thing when you're approaching an animal and you're trying to habituate them to a vehicle is to not approach them in a threatening manner. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't just drive at them at great speed. It means means that the angle at which you approach them is extremely important. The vehicle itself, I think, must look like a living thing. It moves. It's got these two great big eyes in the front, which are the headlights. And I don't think they even, I mean, well, I've no doubt they can see us on the back of the vehicle. I don't think they pay great attention to us when we're sitting on the car. And so the big thing with being on the vehicle is to approach it at sort of a oblique angle, so sideways, so they never feel like you're actually driving straight at them. And that's if you're trying to habituate an animal. The one in front of us is definitely not very comfortable with us. So we'll just very gently move along through the wooden lattice. Thankfully it's not very thick, so we don't have to make a big noise. And the other one's coming through here on our left-hand side. Young bulls, so they're not fully confident yet, you know. They're just they're still a little finding their feet. They don't have the security of the herd anymore, so they'll be a little bit nervous of quite a few things as they find their way as adult bull elephants. This one here on our left-hand side seems to be relaxing quite nicely, so I'll stop here and we'll watch him move past. Go right, Ted. Great. Now the best thing is if they actually approach us rather than us approach them. That's the best thing that happens. And by approach, I don't mean run at a great speed making a noise. I mean come to actually investigate us. That's my favorite. Now watch his behavior quite carefully. You'll see he'll twitch, he'll turn his trunk towards us to smell, and he'll keep an eye out. He'll hide behind the bush just to have a quick look. Now watch as he walks away. He's now watching us. And you'll see when he turns, if he turns to walk straight, he'll look over both shoulders at us. There we go. Now he feels like he's at a safe enough distance so he can turn and have a proper look. All the time the trunk twitched towards us to try and smell. What do we want? Who are we? Do we pose a threat? Isn't that interesting? Right, let's carry on. Let's see if we can get another nice view like that. Now, we were chatting a little bit earlier about Wendy, this vehicle, and Renosters on Twitter. You want to know what happened to the third vehicle called Rusty. Rusty went through a very traumatic stage. She began life at WildEarth with much fanfare. She looked wonderful, but she was a bit like a sort of an old human being who's had an enormous amount of plastic surgery. Looks okay from far, but once you get under the hood and under the skin, there's a deeply aging and rusty foulness, and that is basically what Rusty is. Rusty is a great foulness on the land, and we eventually, after great expense, managed to make her run, and so she is running at the moment, but we're not using her because she's mainly the drone vehicle. She's about as reliable. Here we go. Hello, fella. Look at that, isn't that wonderful? Smart redhead, look quickly there. You want to know where the entrance to the ear is? That's it there. Tebs is right on the ear there. It's not behind the flap, it's in front. It's exactly like a human ear. So it's in front. Remember, if it was behind, it would be a fairly pointless appendage because, well, they wouldn't get much sound in from those flaps. So I'll try and get another look, but if you look carefully at the ear, you can see the opening very clearly. Alrighty. That, of course, the shot that Ted says there is a quintessential African shot of the elephant's bottom disappearing. Probably the best looking bottom out here, the elephants. Gently along here. If you were to head in a dead straight line from here, you would eventually reach the Juma Dam, and I wonder if they're not going to perhaps have a drink there. In Florida, you say you can't imagine a better way to spend a Saturday morning than with bacon, eggs, tea and SafariLIVE. I'm very pleased, Pat. I would change one thing about that. I would probably have an enormous pot of coffee instead of the tea, but that's wonderful. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Glad, excuse me, that your breakfast is providing you with such pleasure. It's my favorite meal of the day. Smart redhead. Have a look now at the ears. Ted gets in there. I mean, it is hidden by the trees, but there you can see that dark shadow on the front of the ear. There you can see it. That's the entrance to the ear right there. Now, everybody, if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is switch on this camera. I'm going to try and switch on this camera. Is it great freezing? Oh dear. Anyway, you enjoy it. He's eating. Ah, there we go. Carla, you want to know if they get ear mites. Carla, I don't think they get ear mites. It's possible. I'm sure that there are any number of things that probably do try and get at their ears, but I'm not sure that ear mites is one of those things. Right, let's move on a bit. Rough in here now, so we're going to move a bit more gently through here. I don't, like I say, want to break the trust that we managed to build. All right, let's head across to Brent. He's got a skull. Sounds a bit ominous, really. He'll tell you about how it became a skull as opposed to attached to the original animal it was on. See you later.
So, Andrew and I were reminiscing as we meandered down Drakensberg Road. We decided to visit what was left of the buffalo we managed to catch being eaten by lions alive on camera. And as I said, even though he's dead, there's still lots of stuff eating him. There are hundreds of little carrion beetles that are still eating the tiny bits of sinew that are left. And the first horn moths have made a dent in the top of the skull. Oops, it's still quite heavy. As you can see there, they've eaten through the keratin. Same family as fish moths that eat clothes. And there we go. So still a little bit smelly, not too bad though. Now I'm going to wipe my hands all over Andrew because he gets grossed out easily. But while we do that, let's go back to James and the Ellies.
That was a very quick skull discussion. The elephants are just moving past the old hyena den here, and I say old, I mean it's relatively recently used. Let's just watch your head here. Watch your head here, everybody. Tibbs will move it over your head. There we go. Don't spill your tea there in Florida. Here's the old hyena den over there. No hyenas there now. As you can see the termite mound. And the elephants have already, you see the tree on the right-hand side of your picture there, the elephants have pushed that over. That used to shade the home of the hyenas, no longer. And there go our two friends down the road in front of us. Now, moving on from the ears, or a little bit forward from the ears, Billy in Texas, you want to know about that fluid that seems to come out of just in front of the ears. They're now chasing each other. The one behind is giving the one in front a bit of a hard time. Billy, that is a secretion from the temporal gland. It's a gland basically on the temple here, and it leaks whenever they're stressed. So if they're stressed about heat, if they're being chased around by bulls, if they're thirsty, then that gland will start to stream. Also, these bulls, when they go into must, it will also start to stream. And must is a time of elephants breeding. It's when they're ready to kind of start breeding, and they feel very edgy and agitated, and that's what that gland is for. Right, everyone, I think we're going to leave these two. I don't think they're very comfortable with the vehicle, and they're going into some pretty thick stuff now. I'm just going to stop here, and we're going to get a last view of them. They're being particularly, yes, unobliging. Although one is about to pop out on the road. Let's just roll forward slowly. There we go. I see you. And here comes the next one. One slightly younger than the other. I think the one in front is probably about 2 or 3 years old. And it's not unusual for you to see elephants of this age with the herd, and so their slight nervousness is not unusual. I think they're just of that age. Right, we're going to head down here. We're going to send you back to Brent for a bit of an update, and I'll keep you posted on anything else that we find. See you later.
So we are back in the beastly hot South African low-veld today, and in an area that seems to be devoid of anything with a heartbeat. That's why I had to show you a skull, and hopefully we will find something that is not retired permanently. It's even a bit hot for the butterflies, so hopefully as the temperature cools a little bit, some of the more interesting bugs will come out, some butterflies. I've found a very dangerous beast. If you eat it, which I'm not going to do, so it's completely harmless. Very pretty though. Okay, hopefully he doesn't jump too quickly. Let him calm down. Whoops. Don't jump. Don't jump. It's called an elegant locust. So very, very pretty. Lots of different colors. Let's grab my earpiece. And quite noxious. So it eats Wolfaria plants and other plants that have hydrogen cyanides. Oh, haha, he missed. That is another one of his defense mechanisms. But very few things can eat this. He is very, very noxious. and incredible colors, and that bright coloration he's got on there is called aposematic coloring, and that's to warn any bird that might want to eat him that he tastes, or mammal for that matter, that he tastes absolutely vile. So very, very pretty. One of my favorite of the locust and grasshopper family. But let's put him back in the bush. We've had a nice good look at him, and he's behaved. I was very, very worried he was going to jump at great speed away from us. Okay. Oh, he's actually, the tree we found him on, quite interestingly, is a senna, which also has some poisons in it. And I'll have a look in the book now, but this could also be a host plant. Now he doesn't want to leave me. After not wanting to come to me. Come on, dude. No. I have a new friend. And you can see how strong they are. There we go. And he jumps. Ha. There we go. Really, really beautiful grasshopper. And just as I said, oh, giraffe. Something with a mammalian heartbeat. It's like a bull giraffe. Hello, big boy. So the reason I can see from a distance that it's a male, quite a bit bigger than the females, also a very distinctly shaped head. And you see there's quite a large protrusion on the forehead, and that's a buildup of scar tissue from fighting. Also the ossicones, which is another name for a giraffe's horns, don't have any hair tufts on the top, and that's also from fighting. He has a scratchy face though, or an itchy face, which he is using that red bush willow. It's actually an ear. He's probably trying to get some ticks out from behind his ears. See how he's got that branch right behind his ear, and he's trying to remove. Oh, there we go. That is the wonderful thing about this little camera, is that super zoom, and we can also see it looks like a piece of his ear is missing, and that is more than likely. It almost looks like a bite, but that would be unusual. It's more than likely from insects that have been chewing on it. Oh, that looks quite good. Maybe I should get a bush willow stick to scratch behind my ears. So, of course, not having opposable thumbs and hands, a lot of animals have to utilize whatever they can to scratch. An incredibly massive beast. And I wonder if anyone out there could tell me how heavy a giraffe is. So if you know how heavy a giraffe is, you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. So, on that elegant locust we just saw, there's a question from Shell and Andreen. Andreen was wondering the name, and the name is an elegant locust. And Shell was wondering, is a locust a grasshopper? Well, that is quite an interesting question. They all have a slightly different life cycle. Oh, he's got some oxpeckers on him as well. So they have a slightly different lifestyle. There he is. Sorry, and I got the name wrong. Apparently it's sometimes called an elegant grasshopper as well as a locust. And even though it's called a grasshopper in this book, it is a locust. So locusts skip a phase in the sort of life cycle, and they have a nymph stage that crystallizates through to an adult stage. So they've got one less stage in their life cycle than the grasshoppers. And now he's moved on from a red bush willow to a large fruited bush willow. Male giraffes can get to about 3.5 meters, with the record being just under 4, which is incredible. I would say this guy's a solid 3.2 at least. Have an incredibly long tongue that is basically feels like a really tough old piece of leather, and they are able to chew and through thorns and get spiked and completely ignore all the spiky and hooked thorns in the bush. So incredible adaptation. And he is moving off into Torchwood, so across our eastern boundary. We'll stay with him as long as we can. See why they got the name giraffe from the Arabic zarafa, the one who walks swiftly, and they have to reverse much faster to keep up with them. Oh, he's still going. Speedy Gonzalez, yeah. So we've had a few guesses at a giraffe's weight. Sharon says 1 ton, which is 1,000 kilograms. Paul says 1,000 pounds, which is 450 kilograms. This is a male, so the average weights are between 1,200 kilograms and 1,400 kilograms, so Sharon nice and close, but the largest recorded male is around 1,900 kilograms, nearly 2 tons. He's found a good spot to scratch his face. There we go. I'm trying to get behind the ear again. Imagine how frustrating it must be to not be able to pick those itchy things off you. Look at them scratching, and while we're this close up there, we've got a question from AJ, who's 6 years old in Ohio, and I'm sure AJ just heard me talk about the giraffe and thorns, and he's wondering, don't they ever poke their eye out? Now AJ, you see those lovely long eyelashes that most girls would be jealous of on this male giraffe. Those are there to protect, so the eyelashes will feel or they'll touch a thorn and they'll know when to close their eyes. Because remember, their skin is much thicker and stronger than ours. See, he's listening to your question, AJ. Enough of a scratch. Time to move on. So Smiles says it looks like the giraffe's growing 2 extra ossicones behind the regular pair. Smiles, that looks just like scar tissue build-up to me from fighting, same as what is in the front. And he is going to disappear into some thickets, and we're not going to harass him further. Let us see what else is out there in this wildlife wonderland. Got a really interesting bird coming up here. Okay, Andrew, you got what I'm looking at? Okay, so if we take the far left-hand branch, follow my finger actually. Oh, there. Oh no, this is difficult. There somewhere. There's 2 birds. Okay, I'll go in across to the right. Slowly. There we go. Well done, Andrew. A very cool bird species. It is a great spotted cuckoo, and it is one of the bigger cuckoo species we get here. And they are brood parasites. I wonder if anyone knows what a brood parasite is. If you do, send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv. Or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. You can see how that cuckoo is opening its wings slightly. It's just letting that breeze get under. Oh, off he goes. That is another one. There are 2 in the tree, and it was opening its wings to cool down. Doing it again there. So these guys moving in pairs like this are on the hunt and not for food. So it's got something to do with being a brood parasite. Giving us the best view. So we're going to leave that and let you ponder what is the brood parasite. And don't cheat by asking James. And we're going to go see what James has got. He's got some vampiric birds.
Right, everybody, there are 2 remarkable things about this buffalo. Firstly, he has an enormous wound that the oxpeckers, you can see, beautiful. He's actually been so confiding. He's only about 3 feet from the front of the vehicle. He's got an enormous wound on his shoulder that those oxpeckers are eating out of. I don't know, well, 2 of them were, but one of them, they've flown off to the other buffalo now. The other completely remarkable thing about this buffalo is the size of the scrotum that he has hanging between his legs there, and that is not simply a size of it being a buffalo scrotum. You can see there's actually a swelling on it, and I think he's been bitten, or there's definitely a kind of growth in there as well, and so I can't imagine he's particularly comfortable. You can see how close he is now. He's only about 4 feet from the front of the vehicle, and there you could probably see it now. We'll just keep watching as he goes past. There you can see a little bit of a swelling there, and he's not a very big bull. It's quite interesting. He's substantially shorter. We've watched him walk. He's in a sort of group of 3 here. There's one more in front there, and there's another one over sort of that way. And this guy is shorter than both of those bulls, but he's got a much larger package than any of them, and that's actually quite relevant. It's not a simply mild observation. Apparently, the testicle size does make a difference to how successful they are as breeders, and you can tell apparently by testicle size with mammals as to their social structure and how the mating happens. So much like with chimpanzees, which are enormous in that department, there is kind of confused paternity. So what happens is that if a female comes into estrus in a herd, the bulls will fight with each other for mating opportunities, but they don't dominate each other completely. And so you'll find that probably multiple bulls will mate with estrus females, and the larger, of course, your package is, the more likely it is then that you or your progeny will be the ones that impregnate the female. So I think that's quite an interesting thing, and it tells a lot about the social structure of these animals. And the other great example of that would be something like a gorilla. A gorilla is completely distinct from a chimpanzee in that they are very small, and or the testicles are very small, especially compared with their size, and that's because they have a totally different social structure, where one male will dominate a whole group of females, and he will manipulate, or he will have the only mating opportunities within a group, and so he doesn't need to expend energy having enormous testicles, unlike the buffalo or unlike the chimpanzees. So it's quite an interesting thing, that, because I'm sure you must see things like that hanging below a buffalo and think, what for? Ooh, here we go. Some more buffalo coming up here. Oh, sorry, Maggie. Yes, I forgot to answer your question this morning, Maggie. I'm very sorry about that. I know I did begin it and then we got sidetracked. And your question was, do any of the horned animals that fight get stuck together? Maggie, they do. There's only one that I really know of, and that is the kudu. Kudu fairly regularly, because of their spiraled horns, do get their horns locked together, and they actually then will both die if they can't unhook them. And it's not entirely uncommon for kudu to be found deceased. So excuse me here, I'm just trying to get out of your way. It's not entirely unusual to find kudu deceased together with their horns interlocked. So that absolutely does happen, Maggie, but not with buffalo. We watched some buffalo having a fight today, but you can see how their horns are, well, I mean, they're just not going to get intertwined. They're not designed that way. Nice little herd of buffalo bulls meandering down through the grassland. They would have been spending the day in the water, in the mud. You can see some of them are very muddy indeed, and the rest would have been in the shade. And now they're kind of, as the day starts to cool, and I use the term cool in its loosest possible terms, it's certainly not cooling a lot, but as it cools a bit, they're moving off to graze now. And Larry, that wound, I'm going to try and get you another view of that wound. Larry, you say there's a bad wound. It is a bad wound, and it's, I mean, those oxpeckers, which are known as tick-eating birds, will keep a wound like that open. And they'll keep it open because it supplies them with blood. Oxpeckers don't eat ticks because they like ticks, they eat ticks because they like blood. And ticks, of course, are blood suckers, so that's why the oxpeckers eat them. So while the relationship that they have with buffalo is largely symbiotic, when they have a wound like this one has, and you can see there are 4 oxpeckers now fighting over being able to eat from the wound, when they have a wound like that, the oxpeckers can be a bit of a hindrance. Sorry, I'm just going to get into a decent position. Sorry, Tibbs. Let me go around the bush here. Sorry, man. It's a very unpleasant sound. There we go. Gracie, hello and welcome again, of course. You want to know, I'm just going to get your question again, sorry, I don't think I heard it correctly. Look at them eating away there at that. Oh, I see, Gracie. You want to know if that sack hanging between the legs is going to fall off because it's been bitten and it's swollen. No, Gracie, I don't think it's going to fall off, but it might cause an infection in the rest of the buffalo, and well, that could make the buffalo very sick. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. As will this big injury on his shoulder, Grace. If you look at it now, you can see it's very messy. And while I suppose the oxpeckers do help a little bit in that they keep it clean, but eventually it's going to be a bit of a problem. It does look like it's healing from the inside, though. If you look in the middle of that thing, you can see it kind of solidifying in the middle of the wound, and I think it will eventually heal. I'm not actually sure for definite whether oxpeckers do make, wounds like this worse, or if the cleaning effect that they have on them actually helps. Isn't it a wonderful shot of those oxpeckers with their beaks open like that? That's an indication of how hot it is. They're doing what we call goulard flutter. They're floating their throats up and down, and it's just like panting. That new green grass. We might get another view there of the injury. Quite astonishingly, most of that is entirely natural. There, you can see it there. You can see he's definitely got a growth in there somewhere. I don't think we want to spend too much time on that view. That's quite enough testicle for the afternoon, I feel. And, well, I mean, the other interesting thing is that you will hear people tell you that these bulls don't live together or don't live in the herd because basically they are too old and decrepit to fight for mating opportunities. And I'm becoming less and less a fan of that particular school of thought. And I think that these bulls actually just couldn't be bothered. So some of them are really in very, very good condition. The one that we've been looking, he's not in such great condition, but in terms of you pan slightly to the left to that one over there, that one there, I think, is in excellent condition. You can see he's fat, he looks big and strong, there are no bones showing, he looks very muscly, and I think that you'll find that if a herd of buffalo was to come through here, he would definitely tag on for a while, see if he could find some mating opportunities, and then probably drop off the herd when it moved off too far away. Well, he's a magnificent fellow. I think I did lose the final control briefly. I've got them back now. Oh, now we had some little ones earlier, or some youngsters who weren't very happy to see us. Hopefully Brent's example is going to be more happy to see him. We will see you in just a little while.
So we found an elephant bull. He's moving through the bush. We're going to try to keep up with him now. Young Ellie bull, from early 20s. See his bottom disappearing there. It's about to move on to that nice open area under the very dry twin pans. So we're going to move around. little, but he probably still weighs a couple of tons. Probably good 3 or 4 tons already. And of course he decides to go directly behind us. Just trying to see if he's going to walk around us. He might. Here we go. Keeping Andrew energetic on the camera. Andrew, of course, is upset with him because he's now on the wrong side of the light. I'm just going to wait to see where he goes before I move again. Let's try and get up ahead of him. He seems to be on a bit of a mission. Let's try. Ahead. So, young bull, semi-nomadic at this stage of his life. Sometimes hangs on the edges or the peripheries of breeding herds. But can be a little bit too boisterous, and females quite often chase them away. Try to get ahead of him now. Getting in position opposite this branch in my face. Oh, excuse me. So, while we look at this wonderful young Ellie, Jarrett, who's watching on YouTube and is a new viewer, he would like to know where specifically in Africa this is being filmed. Jarrett, it is being filmed live, so you're seeing this at the exact same time as me, in the Sabi Sands Private Game Reserve on the border of the Kruger National Park in South Africa, and we have an elephant bull less than 4 foot from the front of our vehicle and walking past us. Here he is, and he's eating lots of little grass and herbs as he moves along. Hey, look at him plucking that grass as he goes. So Jared, and in more particularly, we are at the moment on Djuma Private Game Reserve. We operate on Djuma and Arathusa Private Game Reserves in the northern Sabi Sands. These reserves are unfenced to Kruger, and we are in an area that is about 8.5 million acres of unfenced African wilderness where the animals can roam where they choose. Andrew, can I go back there? So, of course, James Henry has to one-up me. So, from my 1 Ellie to 6.
Hello everybody, we've just come to Peter's pan where Peter is absent, and there are some elephants in front of us, and I'm just trying to and drive us into a position without creating major consternation. They're just heading beautifully along this little drainage line here. They drink very fast, elephants. Unless they're playing in the mud, they do tend to drink very quickly. Also here, a whole herd of impalas. There's some kudus to the left of that, and a whole lot of nyalas too. So a great plethora of antelope. We'll come back to look at them, and we'll try and head the elephants off now. There we go. 3 magnificent kudu bulls. Oh, let's just stop here a second, Tibbs. Look at them. 5 stunning kudu bull and you always, a lot of people get confused between Nyala and Kudu. There you see them. The Kudu, at least Nyala, much smaller. Behind there, different color, but same family, same genus. That's the Nyala there. Nyala bull, beautiful, my favorite antelope. And there are the Kudu, possibly the most regal antelope that we have here. Alrighty, let's just quickly hurry up before those elephants disappear into some thick bush. Two Egyptian geese running off in front of the car. Dennis the Zoomy, there are the elephants in front of us. We'll just try and sort of keep up with them. They are moving off. I'm not sure where they're going. Dennis, you were watching the workers here fixing up the fan. It was leaking into the dam. That's why they were here. And you said they were buffalo, but they all walked off. And how long will it take before they come back? Less than a day, Dennis. I suspect they'll be back there tomorrow. And all will be well for them. Right, here we go. Beautiful shade here. Hello, Rain. You are 15 years old and you ask a very valid question because you've obviously seen elephants before and you've been watching a big bull with Brent. And having seen those buffalo, you want to know if elephants have testicles. Rain? All mammals, male mammals, have testicles, but in the case of elephants, I'm just going to stop here, let them get used to us for a second. In the case of elephants and rhino, Rain, and in fact I think hippo are the same, they're internal, so you don't see them, they don't hang outside the body like they do in most animals. So that's why it's actually quite difficult to tell a male elephant from a female elephant because the testicles are inside. Now this one looks like a young male. The best way to tell actually when they're that age is to look between their front legs. If they're female, their mammary glands or their teeth will be slightly swollen, and if they're male they won't be. You can just see a little bit of them there. But otherwise it's very difficult to tell when they're not, when they're little. So, if you look at this one here, I actually can't tell whether that's a male or a female. Little tusks, and the tusks are facing downwards, which usually indicates that that's a female. The male tusks often kind of stick out in front. But I certainly wouldn't put any money on that. And I'll try and show you, there's an obvious cow up front. We'll try and get it a bit closer to her. Stop here because this chap's being so sweet. Riley, you're in Illinois, you're 13, welcome, lovely to have you on board with us. You say you saw a documentary where an elephant calf was attacked by lions and it was they took most of its trunk, and you want to know what could it survive? How? Riley, they're amazingly adaptable elephants. There is a cow here that we see quite often. She's got sort of a third of her trunk missing. We're not sure how she lost it, and she survives. Yes, it's much more difficult for them to eat, like this one's eating here. can see that, as Tibbs is showing you can see how dexterous that trunk is. It is amazing how they use it to pick things up, tiny things. So if it was missing the trunk there, it wouldn't be able to pick grass as easily as this one is picking that grass, and so it would probably have to eat more leaves rather than picking grass like that. But if it could do that by just biting the trees, it would be able to use the top of its trunk to pull things off. And that cow that we see also uses her tusks in conjunction with her trunk quite a lot. Now, there's a big elephant there, Ted, a big elephant in front of us. Let's try and see if we can tell whether that's a bull or a cow. I'll tell you what I think just now. What you need to look out for, males have got much more pronounced hollows to the back, so their spines aren't quite as straight. They've got rounder foreheads, their tusks stick out. And I think that one is unquestionably a bull. I don't know what he's doing with this group of females, but he has no swelling between his front legs. So he's an older bull than those two bulls we've seen, and maybe there's a female here who's coming into estrus, and maybe that's why he's hanging around here. So we were just chatting that it is in males and females, and Julianne, you want to know if that is actually the spine or some sort of armor plating or protection for the spine. No, that is the spine that you can see there. That is the backbone. And I suspect it needs to be so high because it's got to support that weight. So it's at that angle, I think, to support the fairly vast hind quarters that an elephant has. So they're very wrinkly skinned of our elephants, of course. And Sharon, you want to know if we ironed the skin out of all the wrinkles, how much bigger do I think the elephant would be? Sharon, I have to tell you, I've got absolutely no idea. Shall we go with roughly twice the size? I think you'll find those wrinkles aren't so much wrinkles as they are sort of grooves. So, yes, it's a bit wrinkly there behind the elbow, you can see. But the rest of the wrinkles are more grooves than they are wrinkles, and that skin in many areas is actually quite tight. It's not like the sort of skin around the neck of a dog, you know, which is very loose and floppy. Well, what I want to try and do is get a little bit in front of him. This way so that one doesn't feel the need to run away. There we go. Oh, and then just, I didn't even notice it, but there's a lodge behind us, and that's WildEarth Lodge at Juma. And a couple of guests staying there now at the moment, but they're all out on game drive. Which is lucky, because otherwise we'd be staring straight into the front of their rooms. Now that's definitely a young bull, roughly the same age as the other two we saw earlier today, and like I say, I mean, they would quite often be with a herd. And I think what they're probably going to do, and I'm guessing here, the easiest way to end up with egg on your face out here is to try and predict what animals are going to do. I think they're probably going to go around to the Gallagher waterhole there and have a bit of a drink. So let's see how much egg I get on my face. And Donna, You're absolutely correct. I think elephants have the most beautiful eyes. Aren't they incredible? You really look into them, they have kind of beautiful orangey amber color. We are going to have to move behind them though, I'm afraid, because there's no way through here without making an enormous noise. Let's just follow them gently towards the waterhole at a sedate elephantly pace. Look at this chap. Isn't he sweet? I think that's another male, another young bull. I think there's a cow in front there. I mean, I'll be astonished if these are all bulls. Let's check out this bird here. That is a fork-tailed drongo, everyone. And he's following the elephants because the elephants, of course, you've seen them picking out the sedges, that kind of green grassy material that will dislodge all sorts of invertebrates, and the drongo will swoop and eat those up. Lisa, you would like to know if I've ever been charged by an elephant before. I think this is quite a wide-ranging topic. The short answer is yes, I have. The long answer is it's not usual, and if you are able to read an animal's behavior and you listen to the signs that they give you, it's unlikely to happen. It can happen. Definitely can happen. These are young animals. They are far more likely to just move away if they get irritated, and that's sort of what they are doing. And that's why I'm staying behind them quite carefully. If this was an enormous elephant bull and he was in must and he turned around and he shook his head at us like that, I wouldn't be moving nearly as close to them, because he's saying to me, I feel uncomfortable, back off or you're going to be in trouble. Normally an elephant, a buffalo, a lion, a leopard, anything will warn you. They'll show you if they're uncomfortable with their body language. And if you listen to that, you can avoid being charged. And that's why, I bang on about this just about every day. When people say, isn't this a dangerous place to work? It's potentially dangerous if you don't understand how the animals behave. Yes, of course, there can be accidents. There can be times when you don't read the animal's behavior correctly. But 9 times out of 10, if you're careful, you watch and you pay respect to the animals that you have here, the chances of being charged are very small indeed. So you can see the fence there, and that fence just surrounds the lodge. And what it does is it sort of keeps out the predators. It keeps out hippo mainly, which is the most important thing to keep out of your camp. They can be the most potentially dangerous at night time. And the elephants won't go in there. If they really wanted to, I've seen elephants break a fence like this it's electric. Elephants don't like the electricity, but if they wanted to get in there, I've seen elephants take sticks, huge logs, and basically beat a fence with the logs until it was broken and then walk into the camp. They're highly, highly intelligent. Nyala and kudu pay absolutely no mind to that fence. I've seen them jump over it from a standing start, straight over, and in they go. Karuna, the queen of Juma, also spends quite a lot of time in there. I'm not sure how she gets over it. She may jump. She may just go under it, I suppose. And apparently Scott has actually seen Karuna go underneath the fence. Now, the more slowly we move behind them, the more they seem to be trusting us. And this is the great thing about spending a lot of time with animals. They will eventually start to trust. And the thing about the bush is that you really can't rush things. I know sometimes we rush around, we try and find things. It all just kind of happens, regardless of whether you're driving at 100 miles an hour or 10. Now, these elephants will be very happy at the moment because they're eating grass. They would far rather be eating grass than tough leaves and branches, and that's why in summer they will feed almost exclusively on grass if there's sufficient rain. There hasn't been yet, and so they are in drainage line areas. They're definitely mixed feeding at the moment, eating grass now, but they'll have to eat leaves still, because there just simply hasn't been enough rain yet to cause a proper flush of new grass. You can hear, I'm sure, the flapping of the ears there. And that flapping is to try and keep them cool. It chases away the flies. And the big thing about that is if you can get in on the back side of the ear there. That back side of the ear, you can see it's got lots of veins in it. And those veins, when he flaps the ear there, the veins will become cool, and that blood flows straight into the brain and keeps the most important organ in a state of coolth. Now, Billy was asking, I think it was Billy just now from Texas, was asking about the streaming behind the temporal gland. And if we look to the left of that, Tebs, to the one in front of us, you can see that there is a slight streaming from the temporal gland there, Billy. There, just in front of the ear, you can see that moisture between the eye and the ear gland that's streaming there. There's some form of stress. It might be anger. It might be some kind of emotion. It might be hunger. It might be thirst. It might be that that big bull has been bullying this one. It's difficult to say. But all is peace. Otherwise, it's a wonderful, wonderfully peaceful afternoon. We'll sneak very, very slowly forward. Of course, ideally, if we had an electric car that worked, we could just very easily ease our way in. This chap here, look at his eyes. You can see that amazing colour. John, as we look at the eye there, you might just see that little tinge of orange if he opens it. John, you're in Norton Keynes. It sounds like a fascinating place to be. I don't know where that is in the world. It could be anywhere. It's in Staffordshire in England, apparently. Well, John, you want to know what happens to animals that are born blind out here? You'll find, John, that they unfortunately will die very quickly. So if an elephant was born blind, the herd would try and look after it for a little while, but eventually it would become too much of a hindrance and it would die. And the same goes for any other animal out here. The predators would eventually just pick it off. And in the case of an elephant, it just couldn't keep up with the herd. Beautiful, isn't it? I see that we're going to quickly look across to Brent. He's being attacked by a number of inchworms. I'm not sure what they're doing or what they want to eat of him. Let's head across there and find out. I'll wait here with the elephants.
So I'm surviving my mauling by inchworm, actually laying little bits of silk. So it dropped out of a tree onto my hat. And it's amazing, you can even see those little yellow dots on its body. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So it will belong to one of the moths. I've looked in my book. Unfortunately, I can't find it. But see, he's actually creating silk out of his mouth and pulling it out. He's looking maybe leap down off the dashboard, but I won't let him do that. I'll find a tree to put him on. You can see his eyes will be up on his head here. If you look very carefully, there we go. He's decided to change fingers. That's not a good plan. You need to go back to that finger. Come on, up you get, or not. And try and make him face you so you can see into his mouth parts and that. Leaving silk all over me. Incredibly beautiful little creature. Called an inchworm because it looks like they move almost an exact inch. Oh, wonderful camera work, Andrew. Oh my goodness. So he's looking for a place to see how he's creating silk. I can actually see it from where I'm looking. And that's how they move up and down and around the trees. So there's that inch, and then, isn't that awesome? Absolutely stunning. We've had such a good look at him, it's probably time to return him to his natural habitat, which is not my knuckles. Yeah, and it's incredible how you can see the individual legs on this. So let's pop him back where he's probably a lot more comfortable. Now I have to fiddle around here. Making my driving skills a little bit more difficult. There we go. There's a quarry bush for you, sir. Okay. Isn't that amazing, having a look at some of those creatures, those tiny, tiny little creatures at such a close view? Okay, let's go see what else is about. Temperature's cooling. Maybe we can find a butterfly or two around the Arathusa airstrip. Game drive radio on the side is very noisy. So we were looking at a great spotted cuckoo earlier, and I asked if anyone was aware of what a brood parasite is, which a great spotted cuckoo is, and we now got some answers in. Donna and Green and Mary, very well done. A brood parasite, which a cuckoo is, it will kick the eggs of another species of bird out of its nest and then lay their egg in place. And what will happen is then the host species, and great spotted cuckoos, it's quite often virtual starlings is one of their preferred host species. So the starling will then raise the cuckoo as its own, and what happens quite often in these circumstances at that the baby cuckoo becomes much bigger than the adult feeding it. So they are, almost all the cuckoos are brood parasites, and also the widow finches. Obviously that's quite a nice name for a brood parasite. Widow finch. James has 2 members of the Big Five in the same place to show.
Hello everybody, back again we are. We're just looking here at the herd of elephants. They've made it to the water, they've chased the buffalo off, and we're just enjoying them having a drink now. And while you were away, we were filming them with this virtual reality rig. And they're just very relaxed around us, which is wonderful. And there, look at that. That there is the elephant that is missing the bottom third of her trunk. And you can see she's absolutely fine. She's in good condition, well as good a condition as any of the others. So she must have been with this herd the whole time, just walking off in front where we couldn't see her. And it's always these, yes, Nikki's just pointing out to me, it's always these 3. That's absolutely true. This female, last time we watched them, they all went to sleep. The littlest one there lay down, went to sleep in the shade. The cut-off trunk one kind of dozed off while standing, and the other one did as well. For a little family of 3, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to tell exactly what their relationship is. I suspect the very little one is the cut-off trunk's offspring. Isn't that sweet? We have a battery issue with our GoPros. I'm just going to, everyone, I'm going to clap twice. Don't panic. There we go. I just needed to do that to sync the GoPro. So I'll try and keep it running for now. So like I was saying, they went to the Peter's Pan, as we've called it, where the water is a bit sort of eutrophic. It's full of green and it's pretty foul daily basis, and that's why these elephants have come to drink here. They don't like very dirty water, and even though the buffalo will unquestionably have fouled this stuff during the day, it'll be better than some of that water in Peter's Pan. And this is the only sort of fresh water for quite a way. You can see they are rejecting bits and pieces of it. They're taking some trunkfuls that they don't want to drink. Very beautiful. So peaceful to watch an elephant drink. Especially after a hot afternoon like we've had. And of course all around, there are the buffalo over there to the right. There we go. And even behind us, there are a whole lot of buffalo. They're looking a bit miffed that the elephants have chased them away. We're going to link across to Brent Leo Smith now. He's got a green wood hoopoo by the sounds of things.
So for everyone keeping a bird list out there, here's another nice little bird for you guys. This is a male pin-tailed wider in its breeding colors. He unfortunately is not succeeding in life because he is not surrounded by a bevy of beautiful ladies, or in his case a bevy of very drab ladies. So the females are very brown and nondescript, while the males during the breeding season have this big long tail, get a red beak, and during the off season they also turn brown and nondescript. So quite a nice one. I know we have seen it a few times on the live drives before, but not for a while. And it's a grass seed eater, and you quite often find them on short grasses feeding on the seeds.
Nail. Goodbye. So, yeah.
So that tail's probably 40 centimeters long. So it's a tiny little bird with an incredibly long tail. Oh, it looked like he might fly there for a second. but quite often you'll find them in flocks with lots of females around. This guy is not winning the mating game though, and he's on his own. But let's get back to James and the elephants and buffaloes.
Right, so the elephants are still drinking, and just to the left-hand side here, we've got some kudu coming down to try and get a drink. I don't think that they're going to approach the waterhole while the elephants are there. Look at them there. I think they've just about had their fill anyway. Anyway, that bird that Brent had, of course, was not a red-billed woodhoopoo. It sounded like a pin-tailed wider. Now, we saw him today, actually, at Arathusa airstrip, and I wonder if that's where Brent is. So the ellies are just kind of watching those kudu as if to say, don't come any nearer. This is our water for now. Elephants can be very territorial about water, and they don't necessarily like to have others drinking with them. Look at this. Isn't this wonderful? Little elephant. Terry, you're in upstate New York, and while we watch this little elephant, he's just chasing a kudu. The 6 elephants, I'm sure these 3 were part of it, and they're moving off. Terry, I will answer your question now. They're moving off. They're distinct from the other group of 3. Here come the kudu. Here come the kudu to have a drink. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? This is a big herd of kudu. It's a beautiful herd of kudu. They'll be very nervous of drinking. You'll notice they half put their heads down, then they pick them up again. Just very nervous. They're very vulnerable down like that when they can't see what's behind them. They'll be very scared of anything like a lion that might be coming up behind them. It's highly unlikely. So, Terry, in upstate New York, you want to know what's the most unusual animal friendship that I've ever seen. You've obviously witnessed some. Oh, come, hang on a second. I'm going to get back to Terry, the elephant. This young bull is now coming, and he's taken exception, I think, to these kudu who are drinking his water. He's lifting his head, as if to say, go away. Look at that. They're all scuttling off. He's being very nasty indeed. Now, I mean, Brent had an incredible sighting the other day of this sort of thing with wild dogs, and that's not too unusual. Elephants will always chase predators. But I think because the water, the clean water, is so sparsely distributed at the moment, maybe that's why he's just a bit irritated with them drinking here. Now, Tibbs, can you just go to the right-hand side here? This kudu has spotted something in the bush. You can see her there. Her ears are up. She's having a very good look. This is interesting. If it's a predator, like a leopard, she would definitely alarm call. She'd go, bow. Oh, look at them jump. Oh, it's just fantastic. This is where that virtual reality rig would be absolutely incredible, because Tibbs can only, point the camera in one direction, but this VR rig can look everywhere at once. Now, the buffalo are coming back to have a drink. There, that's an alarm call. You heard that bark. I wonder if there isn't a leopard lurking in the bush here. And there it goes again. This is fascinating. I'm just going to sit here and wait for a little while. Get my head out of the way. I've seen something. Tips, you can't see anything in there, can you? The buffalo couldn't care less if it was a leopard. They won't mind at all. The elephant is just too disgruntled with life to worry too much either. But the kudu, they've seen something in there. Or smelt it. There's a very gentle breeze coming out from that side. They're not totally panicked, though. You know, there were just those two alarms. Anyway, what we'll do is let's drive up there and have a quick look. See what there is. So Terry, the most unusual animal friendship that I've ever seen. You've obviously seen footage of lions adopting baby baboons. You've seen footage of leopard adopting baby monkeys after eating their parents, which is not very kind of them. It normally happens, those sorts of things normally happen with a baby and a female, and the female just has got some kind of motherly instinct that she doesn't, you know, that sort of goes over the species boundary. I've never seen anything like that. In fact, I haven't seen, other than with domestic animals, I've never seen a kind of unusual relationship like that I can think of. Oh, it's a hyena. There we go. Yeah. It's a hyena lying in the bush here, obviously waiting to try and have something to drink. There it is. Now that doesn't look completely unlike the manky mum, but it isn't her because her ears are in one piece. The ear isn't, it is ripped. That is the manky mum. So that high-ranking female with a 2-week-old baby, that's the mother. That's fascinating. So she's obviously she's probably had something to drink. She will be waiting. I don't think she won't go there while the buffalo are there. She wouldn't have gone there while the elephants were there. This is fantastic. Hello, Joe Inc. You're on YouTube and you say this is awesome. You didn't know that we drove around like this. I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe you were watching the walk yesterday. We do drive around, we walk around, we do all sorts of around here in Djuma and Arathusa. Hyenas here, elephant to the left, sort of going off into the bush, the buffalo having a drink, the kudu just behind. It's all happening. Let's go across to Brent. He's got an enormous grey aquatic animal, and we'll hang around here, I think, for the next little while.
So we found Pete the pond hippo's cousin at a pan at the edge of Arathusa airstrip. So we've decided we're going to call him Archibald the airstrip hippo, or Archie for short. So another another old male who's been beaten and had to move away from the permanent water holes where there are other hippos in competition for females. So he's pretty much doing exactly the same as Pete, and he's just going to be lying here in this little bit of water. So one of the only pans that has quite a lot of water in it still because of the runoff from the airstrip. But he's looking quite dozy. So we're going to leave him be. Goodbye, Archibald. We're going to go back to Jones in a second. I just heard a bird calling. And for the birders, just in case you haven't seen this on the live drives before, it's another brood parasite, or a cuckoo. You can hear it calling on the edge of this big knobthorn here. Andrew, you got your eyes open. Oh, there it goes. Unfortunately, it was a Jacobin cuckoo. It's disappearing at a rate of knots. Okay, well, off to Jamesy and the hyena.
Right, there is a forked-tailed drongo. We mentioned that one a little bit earlier. He has a friend just to the left of him, sitting in this sand, waiting his turn, and a very interesting little flock of wattled starlings have just flown in there. Look at them, beautiful birds there. No, that's the dove. If you just go the other side there, that's it. Look at them there. Unusual birds here, nomadic. They'll also follow big herds of animals. A whole lot more flying through here. And yeah, called wattled starlings. You can see that yellow, beautiful yellow wattle that they have on their faces. And just to reiterate, this is a man-made pan. That's what that kind of plastic sheeting is. So it's not particularly wilderness, but I'm afraid that's just how it is. We're just in front of Galago Camp. So you can see water is at a premium. Everything must come and have a drink. The drongos, the starlings, the doves, the kudu, the buffalo, the elephant, the hyena. Now, we have seen a fence here, a CVF Johnson. You're a bit confused now because it didn't seem to be that there were any fences. There are just some fences around the camps. So this is just an island in the middle of this vast expansive area. So there are no fences around the property itself. There's just a little fence around this camp, and that's so that it's child friendly, so that you can have kids here. Otherwise, you know, leopards and lions and animals can get into the camp, and that's okay if you've got kids, but you just need to watch them a lot more carefully. Now, with it like this, it means that you can sort of more comfortably have children around here. Get my head out of the way. And you can see that very, that's an old buffalo there. Very docile looking fellow. In fact, he's not that old. He's just not very big. He's a bit of a geeky buffalo. Now, Tibbs, the buffalo right in front of us there's got an oxpecker on it. And Marcia in Oklahoma, you say some of the oxpeckers have got yellow eyes like that one and some of them don't. Marcia, that is simply because the juveniles do not have the red beak or the yellow eye. And then when they get to adult plumage, they all look like that if they're red-billed, and if they're yellow-billed, they've got a sort of yellowish base to the bill, which the red-bills obviously don't have. That buffalo is having a nice nose clean from that oxpecker. How delicious. Anyway, what I think we should do now is probably head off towards the hyena den. I know that the less than attractive mother is just behind us lying in the bush, but I'm wondering, because she's such a high-ranking female, if some of the others haven't come back to the den there, and maybe that 7-week-old cub has come out. It's only about 400 or 500 meters from where she's sitting. Let's head across there. Those of you who've been watching will know that that manky mum has got a 2-week-old cub, and smart redhead, you want to know the cub will be with it. No. The cub will be at the den, won't move with the pack, at least with the clan, won't move away from the den with the mother unless carried until she's probably 6 to 8 months old. So she'll stay, unless they move the den for kind of safety or health reasons, that cub will be at the den for the foreseeable future. Now, one of the things that Scott Dyson is particularly good at is finding nests of birds. I have found 3 this year: a crested barbet nest, a magpie shrike nest, and I think there was one other. It might only be 2 nests. Scott has found about 57 or so, and one of them was here. You can just see a little shallow cup. And that little shallow cup used to hold some drongo eggs. And I think those drongo eggs didn't in fact hatch there. I think it gave up. It's a bit exposed there. But that was one of the ones that we found. I believe you've posted a picture of that manky hyena, Mum, and apparently not doing her any favours at all while she was yawning. No, she's not a beauty. There is an elephant in there, the same elephant that we've been watching, one of the bulls that was with, we'll just stop here, one of the bulls that was with that small herd. Of course, he's naturally decided to stop behind the bush so that we can't see him. I'm going to sneak a little bit forward and see if we can't get a bit of him. If we can't, we'll just continue on to the hyena den. No, he's in some thick stuff. Let's leave him. We had a great view of him earlier. I'm not going to bash in there after him. Look at the sky. You can see these clouds starting to build up. I doubt it very much whether it's going to deposit anything on us. We live in hope. In Ohio, you are worried about, or you were definitely around when there was a hyena, a female, low-ranking obviously, attacked by the rest of the clan a little while back. She had her ear torn clean off. That is the power of the hyena's jaws. She had her foot broken, and there have been lots and lots of questions as to what's happened to that hyena, and I'm afraid the answer is we just don't know. She disappeared. I don't know where she went. We haven't heard from her. We haven't seen her. We haven't seen any vultures circling, so whether she's died quietly somewhere else under a bush, I don't know. But as soon as we do see her, if we see her, or if we hear about her from the Buffelshoek guys, because I know it was very close to Buffelshoek, then absolutely we will tell you. But as of now, we've got no idea what fate has befallen her. And I know there are lots and lots of you who are very concerned, but I'm afraid we just can't give you any updates on that. And I know that it'll be very difficult, perhaps for some, especially our newer viewers, to accept that we won't actually intervene in a situation like that. I know that's quite difficult to accept sometimes, but we try as best as we can to let nature take its course out here. 9 times out of 10, a human being interferes because we think we know better. It normally results in some kind of tragedy or ecological disaster. spoken about the possibly coming up, or the drought that's coming up. And Harper, very clever question. Yesterday I made mention of the fact that leopards don't need to drink unless they want to. They get enough water from their prey, and they can live in desert areas very successfully and never drink anything. And you want to know if it's the same for hyena and for lions. It is, but to a lesser extent. I think you'll find lions, they will need to drink more than others. They don't occur in pure desert. They don't occur in some of the areas that lions do, at least that leopards do occur. But they will occur in semi-desert. They will occur in the Kalahari Desert, which is a sort of semi-desert area north of South Africa and into Botswana. And so while they probably do need to drink a little bit more than leopards do, they're certainly not hugely water dependent. It's the same as for hyena. Except in the drier areas, you find that the spotted hyena is not as common, but its relative, the brown hyena, is. Now, I see no action here at the moment. Again, just driving in slowly, hoping something will be going on here. But I don't see anything. So here we are at the hyena den, and I don't think nothing's going on here. There's the hole where the 2-week-old was this morning. AJ, in reference to my leopard orchid chewing the other day, which was supposed to attract the attentions of Scarlett Johansson, a traditional medicine in order to attract the attentions of somebody you might fancy. You say, in relation to that hyena, we can't all be Scarlett Johansson. No, that is definitely not the Scarlett Johansson of the hyena world. I struggle to think of a human equivalent, and I probably shouldn't. Before I dig myself into a large hole, let's head across to Brent, and I'll keep going.
So I said to myself, Brent, when was the last time you drove the southern boundary of Arethusa? And I went, sure, a long time ago. I have just completed the southern boundary of Arethusa, and I remembered I haven't driven it in a long time because there was nothing there. So we are making our way towards the Arethusa waterhole, and hopefully we'll see elephants around, or the Anderson Vale. Head down towards the Murakeni drainage and see if Shadow has also popped back from visiting the western properties. Fingers crossed. In Chicago is wondering if we are moving these hippos to different pans around. We are not. They are moving themselves on their 4 legs. These are males that have, with the water receding, there's not enough space for them around, and the dominant males where the girls are will beat the living daylights out of them. There is a game capture going on at the moment that you might have heard of around Buffelshoek. They are catching about 40 hippos that are being sold to another reserve, Waterberg. This is not uncommon practice. It's a little one, Andrew. A baby crested francolin. I've put Andrew in a very precarious angle. Where's the baby? There's mom. Where's baby? There's baby! Carolyn, oh, there's another baby. We'll return to your question in a second once we've finished looking at these very cute little crested francolin following mom. Off they go. game capture of animals like hippo in a place like the Sabi Sands is not an uncommon occurrence. They will be sold, and that revenue will be put back into maintaining the reserve. The reason it would be an animal like a hippo is because man has been in the Sabi Sands for quite a while now, and a lot of these big water holes are man-made. Therefore, historically, there would have not been any hippo up here because there wouldn't have been enough water to support them. And now with the time of drought, a lot of those water holes have dried up. So the hippo population has definitely probably exceeded its limits in this area. So that's why they will be moving about 30 odd from Buffelshoek. So not too many, there'll still be plenty about. Also, what else has happened is that the Kruger National Park originally built a lot of these water holes, and then after more research realized it wasn't actually the best idea. So they've closed a lot of the water holes, and the Kruger National Park boundary is not very far from us. So also a lot of hippo moved from there into the Sabi Sands. So furthermore increasing the hippo population of the area. But old Pete has moved from his pan because he dirtied it too much, and it hasn't been pumped in a few days. So I'm quite sure we might find him back. He comes in. Oh, too quick. There's a woodlands kingfisher. There's an impala running past us. Who likes to hide behind the camera. Andrew, I'm a very strange human. Francis, what is your favorite animal to film? Birds flying. Birds. There we go. Birds flying, Laura. A very emphatic answer. I thought he was going to say lions hunting buffalo. No, you've hurt my feelings. I'm not talking to you anymore, Andrew. We're coming up towards the Arathusa waterhole. I'm hoping there's going to be masses of beasts there. More than likely not. But one can always hope. Rather be an optimist than a pessimist. I'm going to let you guys try ID this one. So it's Andrew to whack the super zoom. There we go. Who can tell me what kingfisher that is as it flies off? So now it's like a real birding exercise. A real birding exercise for you guys. So what kingfisher is that? Send your answers through to questions at wildearth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLIVE. Final Control is trying to guess what the kingfisher is, and they are wrong. have the tuttering of guinea fowl ahead, so there might not be many beasts, but maybe some fowls. Ooh, that is what the guinea fowl are tittering at. In Florida, sunny Florida, the home to some really good tarpon fishing. Would like to know whether I've ever accidentally run over, maimed or injured an impala or any other creature while driving. I haven't, fortunately quite observant. And speaking of running impalas, they disappear. The guinea fowl were tuttering a little alarm call, so there's the guinea fowl tuttering away. And there is what he's alarming at. So, another bird we haven't seen for a while. Let me just try to get us in a bit better light. We've seen Wahlberg's eagle in this tree, and just having a quick look at that, that did not look like a Wahlberg's to me. Let's try to get a little bit closer. It's just in the worst spot for light at the moment, and very particular pose it has at the moment. I don't know if that's going to work. Andrew, what do you think? Let's give it a bash. We'll give it a bash. There we go. Andrew says he likes birds, so here we go, birds. Oh, it's just too dark to see its legs. Have a look at my binoculars. Just judging on the head shape, and I didn't see from the side angle, it looked like I couldn't see any feathers on the legs, which removes the true eagles from it. I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but I want to get you a good view so you can understand why I think that. Just trying to get the light in the right place. That should be a bit better, hey Andrew? It is being very forthcoming, not flying away at high speed. And there we go. Zoom. Can we go any closer on the legs? Yes. Wow, there we go. So it is actually just a funny looking Wahlberg's eagle. You see how the feathers go all the way down to the feet? That is an indication of an Aquila eagle or a true eagle. It's just the way he was sitting with his wings open like that. So what he's doing is opening that, trying to get some cool air over the lesser feathered parts under his sort of armpit. And when birds do that, you know it's beastly warm. But it is a little Wahlberg's eagle, a dark morph Wahlberg's. Just the way he was sitting, it looked a bit different. Well, so from a very elegant animal in a tree to the least elegant animal we're going to see in a tree or safari.
Well, everybody, I'm not up here simply because I like tree climbing, although I do like tree climbing. I'm in a marula tree, a leopard's favorite tree, and an elephant's favorite tree, but in the tree is a parasitic plant. And this parasitic plant is a mistletoe. And Genevieve in New York, you wanted to know if we had mistletoe. Well, yes, we do. And you wanted to know if I could get some for you. Well, yes, I can. By golly, there it is. I will come down there and show it to you shortly. You might need to link away from me in case that I fall out of the tree and maim myself, which of course makes quite interesting television, but is perhaps not something that you wish to see. God, there we go. I'm elegantly climbing out of the tree. Good heavens. I seem to be all right so far. The trick now is, of course, not to land in the thorns that are just over there. I'm not sure how we're going to affect that. And unfortunately, Scott is coming along the road just to have a good laugh, I'm sure. There we go. Not too bad so far. I'm not sure how elegant it looks. Now I will make a graceful leap and end up, even if I break my ankle, I shall not tell you. There we are. So here is the mistletoe. Quite out of breath after that little climb. And it makes beautiful yellow flowers, some of them, and some of them make red flowers. And the ones that make red flowers, I think, are called flaming matchsticks or something like that. So Genevieve, you can stick that above your, with any luck, someone will give you a smooch underneath it. Maybe if I stick it above my door, Scarlett will come through and she'll give me a Christmas kiss. Without further ado, let us head back to Brent Leo Smith and see what he's doing at Arathusa. I will see you shortly.
Unfortunately, the guinea fowl who were chasing each other about have now decided to stop chasing each other about and be very placid. But there will be quite a lot of posturing and chasing about as they sort of pair off now to breed. Oh, there we go. A little bit of running about, not much. So we just saw that kingfisher, and there's a few guesses in, and well done to James, Bear and Khada, who was spot on. It was a very quick view, but it was most definitely a brown hooded kingfisher. And just based on the size, if we had a quick look, and also the red beak and the electric blue in the wing. So quite a big kingfisher, very similar size to a woodlands, which some people guessed. And then the striped kingfisher, there you can see it's got a red and black beak, and it's far more streaked on the breast and also shares that little bit of electric blue. And there we go. And oh wait, before we go, there's the roller I mentioned that I need to see to complete all the roller species that can be seen at Ijuma, a broad-billed roller. Very pretty bird. So just to double confirm that kingfisher we had a quick flash of a bit earlier was indeed a brown hooded kingfisher. James Bear and Khada got it correct. It's so hot and muggy, the butterflies have decided not to grace us with their presence. It seems mornings are better for butterflies. We did have that wonderful inchworm and an elegant locust though. I wonder what other hohos and nunus we can find. For those of you who are new to Safari Live, a hoho or a nunu are two South Africanisms, colloquialisms for bugs and insects in general. Also a very good name for a small dog. And we have had both in our family. We had a hoho and now we've got a nunu. down the road at high speed. There it is. A little tree squirrel. They don't like to be caught between trees too much, and he scampered off and is now listening to see if we're a threat. So they do, well, off he goes, high speed squirrel. So they do store food like their North American cousins and British cousins, but obviously our winter is not nearly as harsh as the Northern Hemisphere, so their caches are by no means to the same degree, and they will forage throughout the winter. So I've got to keep the cameraman going in case it was a leopard or a wild dog, so we can practice on squirrels. Gap there, have you got a gap? See if we can get a gap around the other side. Nope, he's flown away. The woodlands kingfishers are proving to be quite tricky today. In the base of this, zoom in tight where you are now. Go to the right. To the right. There it is, zoom in center frame, zoom. Oh, look at that. And it is a white-browed scrub robin, and that's one of James's favorite birds. Oh, off there he goes. Got an incredible call you often hear in the late evening and early morning, and living up to its name as being a scrub robin. They're generally quite difficult to get on camera because they're flitting around in the scrub. Nice camera work, Andrew. And James might be a little bit jealous we saw his favourite bird, or one of his favourite birdies. Who's watching in Durban, South Africa, from my home province of KwaZulu-Natal, says she gets the brown-hooded kingfishers in her garden in Durban. That you would definitely, and also you would probably get the white-browed scrub robin as well. What's around the next corner? More road, trees. There we go, there's a scrub robin calling. Oh, he just kept quiet now. He was starting to get going. There he is. Oh, there he goes. Into the scrub. Just wait 2 seconds, he might start calling again. He's gone into that little torchwood tree. There he goes. Nice, Andrew. Doesn't seem like he wants to call. What I will recommend is we're going to go see what James is up to, and he does a very good rendition of the whistle of a scrub robin, so I suggest he does it for you right now.
There is the white-browed scrub robin that Brent was not making call. Indeed, my favorite bird out here. And well, not a poor rendition of its call, but just look at the beautiful sight of the sun starting to sink below the Drakensberg and below the mountains there. If Teb zooms in, you might be able to see the little knolls, the foothills that form the western edge of the Sabi Sands. And there's another world-famous lodge on those foothills called Ulasaba, which is owned by Sir Richard Branson. Sitting on one of those there, you can see those beautiful foothills there. And there's a lodge on one of them that he owns. Isn't that magnificent? Just a stunning shot there. And you know, it is no wonder that with shots like that and mistletoe hanging from every marula tree, the bush has provided the sort of romantic spark for any number of couples that I now know, and it's just no wonder, is it? Right, let us continue. We have found nothing in the way of an interesting animal, but we did find an incredible view there. I'm just going to turn around here. Joe Inc., yes, absolutely. New viewer in the car, on the foot, in the tree. We're all over the place. It's just a joy to be able to have such freedom. Someone called Iron Girl on YouTube, also obviously vying for second place in the Twitter handle stakes. Does my mother watch this? She does from time to time. She's not an avid watcher. That's mainly because the state of the internet in South Africa is particularly parlous. It's not very good. And so it's quite difficult to watch the stream in South Africa, interestingly. It's possible, but it is quite difficult. Just move very slowly, Tibbs. Move very slowly. Look at that, everybody. An eagle at eye level. And I am very interested into what eagle that might be. You can hear the squirrel's alarm calling. You can hear the dwarf mongoose alarm calling. And I think it's a pale morph Wahlberg's, but just before I make that call, I'm going to look with my binoculars, because it has a very distinctive... Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I just thought it might for 1 second. Oh, he's going to have a dump. What a wonderful thing to see. I mean, really, buffalo testicles to that. There he goes. Isn't that fantastic? That is just so beautiful. Oh, well done, Tibbs. So pale morph Wahlberg's eagle, and the reason I was a little bit reticent to make that call, I'm still slightly reticent about it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But if you look at its legs, yeah, and in fact it is definitely just calling like a Wahlberg's now. The only reason I was slightly reticent, I'm just going to show you a picture. It was sitting low to the ground, and there's one eagle species that comes here. It was more a hope than it was a genuine thought that that might be the bird that I'm thinking of. A steppe eagle comes out here. It's much bigger than that too, but they sit close to the ground because they eat largely termites, despite being enormous eagles. And Tibbs, if we can just have a look here. There is the tawny eagle. It was never going to be one of those. But the steppe eagle, the juvenile steppe eagle, looks like that. It can be a little paler than that. And it also has that distinctive kind of marking on the back of the head, which that one did have. But the clincher is the fact that the gape, which is the sort of lips, if you like, of the bird, for the steppe eagle extends beyond the middle of the eye, and that one certainly didn't. And you can hear it calling now. Going, Well, that's actually the, you know what that is? That's actually the drongo imitating the WildEarth call. That's incredible to hear. Wonderful. Wonderful stuff. What an exciting afternoon. So, Gracie, aged just 8. You want to know if I've ever broken a bone. I've broken 2 bones, Gracie. And Ben. Sorry, I got it slightly wrong. Gracie, you say that you've told your mum that's because I can climb trees, so can you. Gracie, I think it's a very good suggestion. I would suggest you start on very small trees, though. Don't try and climb the big ones just yet. Try maybe the odd bush. And then, Ben, you want to know if I've ever broken a bone. I have. Mercifully not climbing trees. Once playing touch rugby, which is not very manly. Touch rugby is supposed to be a gentle game. I broke a wrist doing that. And once, I've actually never broken a bone doing anything very manly at all. The other time I was tossed underneath a high jump mat when I was a very small boy and everybody else in school piled on top of it. And my arm was stuck underneath me like that and the wrist popped out. And I was very sore and I cried a lot. Anyway, those are the only 2 bones I've broken. I have broken a toe as well. In fact, the toe is still broken. It points off to the east, to the west actually, on my left foot. It doesn't hurt at all though. So 3 bones, none of them climbing trees, none of them doing anything useful at all, in fact. In Sweden, I thought I climbed down that tree with a great elegance. You say more noise climbing down there than when I'm bundu bashing in the car. Well, I think that's very unfair. I'm going to have to try and better that performance. I did have a route down planned so that I would look graceful. Unfortunately, I failed to remember it once I'd found the mistletoe. I became too excited. Comments from Mary and Pinky Swear. Mary, you say you're sending a Christmas kiss for me from snowy Michigan. Thank you very much. And Pinky Swear, you say hang tight under the mistletoe, you're on your way. Okay. See you later. Very nice smelling around here. It's not the mistletoe. There's some very nice smelling plant. I can't see it at this stage. Oh, we're not going to go this way. We've already been this way. Let's go this way. An ornithological query from London in England. Karen, you want to know if we get red-winged starlings here? Not here specifically. I've seen them in the Kruger. I've also seen them in Hoedspruit, sort of around towns here. I've never seen them in the reserve itself. You've sparked an interest because I've meant to look in the book as to where they're distributed now. So I'll just quickly look at the book. Hopefully not drive into a tree. That would be awkward. It would be embarrassing. Anyway, we're heading towards another sort of viewpoint of the sun. News on the wireless, as it were, is that Karula is not anywhere near here. She is, I was hoping it was her when we saw that hyena at the water there. Karula is in fact on Buffer's Hook, which is very unkind of her. Hope she has an uncomfortable night and then comes back here. find the starling without... There was a big herd of buffalo that came through here, and I just want you to understand this. This is a very important part of the ecology that we have here. So, Tibbs, if you can just kind of pan around, you can see the ground has been tremendously disturbed here, and that's from a big herd of buffalo that came through here last night. And as Tibbs comes around, you will see the disturbance, you'll see the urine, you'll see the tracks, you'll see where they've broken the ground up. And that's very important. It's extremely important because it fertilizes the ground, first of all. I will find these starlings, they're in this book. And let's just go a little bit back. Tibbs can show you the urine on the ground. Right on the road there. There we go. There's some urine. And very, very obvious fertilizer and very important fertilization. And that hoof action, far from compacting the sand and ground, it actually breaks it up and buries the seeds. And it's tremendously important for the ecology of the area. Right, there is the red-winged starling. And there he is. And there's the distribution map over there, and that distribution map definitely shows that he is found here. I'm just going to say pairs and flocks frequent cliffs, caves, or buildings where they roost and breed. So not this one, Tibbs. Not much in the way of cliffs and caves around here, but buildings, yes, in the Kruger Park, and would explain why we see them around Hoedspruit, which is the town just near here. So that's the red-winged starling. Great stuff. On we go. Thank you, Genevieve. I have found 3 nests, not just 2. You remember the other one. It was an oxpecker nest just above where I think I planted that orchid a little while back, and they were carrying hair into the nest. Yes, I remember that one. Thank you, Genevieve. 3 nests to me, 57 to Scott. So here is another magnificent view of the Drakensberg Mountains, stretched 1,000 kilometers down the escarpment of South Africa. Beautiful shot of them there. I'll just stop here. That's the kind of end of them there. Nestling beneath the gingery sky. And the lack of clarity in the sky is a function of the fact that we haven't had a decent rain for some time now. You can see those mountains are very hazy. And the cloud that was sort of coming up has dissipated away. The moisture has not come. There's one positive about that, of course, and that is, well, apart from the incredible beauty that you can behold right now, and that is that a cloudless sky will make for a cool evening. When it gets cloudy here at night, oof, it don't cool down at all. Right. I believe there are lots of people on the Twitterverse that enjoy the sunset as much as I do. Never get tired of it for some reason. Go and have one last look at that hyena den before we pack it in for the night. So that's the sort of direction that I'm heading. Maybe Manky Mum has returned. I just think it's important that we go there sort of on a daily basis, if not twice a day, just to try and see and figure out what's going on. I think we're going to learn a tremendous amount by spending extended periods there. So Cindy, Tiens, Barbara, and many others, you're wondering what this thing on the front of the vehicle is. It's my pet. It's a microphone, and it's for the virtual reality rig, which is that little ball of today totally useless GoPros. It hasn't functioned at all, but this is the microphone to pick up the sound, and this little thing is a sort of wind filter, so when you're driving along you hear more than it actually makes quite a good sound. It blocks out the wind. So that's what it is. It's quite nice to stroke if you're feeling a bit nervous. Apparently my friend Leo Smith is following up on leopard tracks and has instructed that you sit with me for a while longer because he's concentrating. Now, friend Leo Smith is not known for his concentration span except when he is on leopard tracks or wild dogs. Then you cannot sway him from his mission for love nor money. King, we've seen the sunset, and you want to know if I ever just sit under a tree jamming my guitar watching the sun go down. Rich, yes, quite often actually. Mostly at this time of year, I'm normally not around the bush. I'm normally in the Eastern Cape, and by this time of the day, my father and mother and brother and sister and various family members will be sitting on a deck overlooking the Kariga River, watching the sun go down. I will be playing the guitar and possibly having a small snifter. Anyway, that's what the rest of the family will be doing now. No one will be playing the guitar. My brother was a cellist, but gave up after a family concert, ended up in, well, basically the rest of us falling about laughing for half an hour. So he stopped playing the cello after that. Another marvellous castle of clay here that we drive past hundreds of them on a daily basis, and this of course is the termite home of Macrotermes natalensis, the large fungus growing termite. Millions of them will have built this unbelievable construction. Isn't that great? Very nice. And as many of you will be aware, the total mass of termites under the ground and over the ground, depending on what kind of termite they are and where they live, will exceed the mass of all the other herbivores in an area. So just think about that. In the Kruger National Park, there are probably now about 15 to 17,000 elephants. There are probably 100,000 buffalo. There are countless impala, any number of kudu, nyala, warthogs, all of those animals. Their combined mass does not equal that of the combined mass of termites in an area like the Kruger Park. Isn't that quite an astonishing thing? Right, on we go. Now, this is not an uncommon query, and it's an important one. Joe, you're in Arizona, and you want to know when the best time to come here is to see animals. Joe, it so depends on personality. So, there's no bad time to come. There are different times to come. So let's start in January, because we're about to hit January, if you can believe it. We're about to hit 2016. And Joe, if you used to come in January to sort of January to March, it's hot. It is the rainy season, but there's not a lot of rain around here, so it's hardly likely to affect your safari. The bush is a bit thicker, and that means that it can be a bit more difficult to see animals, but you've got all the young animals, all the young impala, all the young wildebeest frolicking about the place. It's the last of the summer, and I think it's a lovely time of year. Then you've got the sort of March, or April, May, June, July, August time. Or April and May. April and May, the temperature comes off, so it gets much cooler. The grass, everything starts to lose its leaves, their leaves, and because it's cooler and the days are still relatively long, it can be a bit more pleasant if you don't like the heat. I like that time of the year too. Then, the midwinter, which of course is nothing like the winters you have in the United States. The midwinter here, sort of June, July, August, it gets a little bit chilly in the mornings, but it's a great time to view animals because the leaves are falling off the trees, so it's just a lot more open and you can see more clearly. The best time if you want to see lots of animals is to come in sort of around September, October, November time, because it's before the rain. It's before the leaves have flushed, well, September, October, before the leaves have flushed, before the rains have come, and it gets very dry, and the animals are concentrated around the water. The thing about that time of the year, if there is a disadvantage, is that it gets very hot, and it's not as attractive as it is, say, in the midsummer like this. It doesn't look green and verdant. It looks quite dry, and I mean, I think it's beautiful, but that's because I'm used to it. And so that's the kind of time. Then November, December, of course, you're going to get the young baby animals and the associated predators. You can get caught in the rain, but I mean, like I say, the rain here is, well, it's relatively minimal compared with rain in other areas, so not something to worry about. So it really does depend on what your preference is. If you're a first timer coming out here and you want, I would say come September, October, maybe August, September, October. Right, we're about 3 minutes from the hyena den, 2 minutes from the hyena den. Of you and Detroit, you say, the reason I am your celebrity crush is because I go to the hyena den twice a day. Shell? Well, let's maintain that. I think calling me a celebrity is to use the term in the loosest possible way. But thank you. I'm going back to the hyena den is that I came here 2 nights ago. There was nothing going on. I left, and 20 minutes later somebody called in that there were 7 hyena there. So I think it's worth checking twice. Right here. Here we are. Old thumbs that Manky mother has had her drink at the waterhole and come across to suckle her youngster and enjoy watching her play. Setting sun in the last fingers of the day. There's no one else here. I'd like to share my hyena den with you. Valid question from B. Wilson. Would anybody in the animal den in termite? B. Wilson. that's why it won't go down. There is the name. There we are, everyone. Look at that. So that's the tiny little 2-week-old. The mother is not being very nice. Look at that. She keeps warning the youngster away. There we go. And it almost looked like there was a fresh wound on the side of her face, but I don't think it is. I think it's just some of the red skin that she has. Definitely more agitated than normal. Unless the little one's just playing. Isn't that lovely? Now, a little while back, Inga posted a picture of 2 hyena cubs, or one a day before, and one in the evening, and one then in the morning. And because I said it, I thought there was only one cub here, one this age. And Inga, you posted those 2 photographs, and they did look different, I must say. I think it had something to do with the fact of the lighting. I also think there could well have been some dust on this thing, on the little one's face, after a night of probably some activity, and maybe a scuffle with the 7-week-old cub. I'm 99% sure that there is only one 2-week-old cub here. Otherwise, they would both come out. There's another adult arriving the other side. There she is. And I hope that's the pretty one. Maybe she's going to call out her youngster. No, I don't know that it is. She's got a big notch out of her left ear as well. There, you can see it. Look at this. Watch. Yeah, that manky mum is definitely a very dominant female in this clan. That's her little one calling. Never heard that before. She's now calling into the... Oh, that's the adult. You hear it echo. Right, to the right tips. There we go. Now watch as she does it. She puts her head right on the floor, and that sends the sound scuttling off, and it echoes down through the trees. It's unbelievable. That's the only sound other than a lion's roar that I've ever heard echo like that. Oh, look. That 7-week-old cub has come out. This is bizarre. Unless there's a tunnel that goes right through this mound. Is there two babies? No. Look. This is quite astonishing. Absolutely fascinating. Pretty sure that's the same cab, everybody. I think there's a tunnel all the way through. Sorry about the technical issues, everybody. It's totally unpredictable. And that skin on her right shoulder does appear to be quite raw. I don't know if it's a wound so much as a skin lesion that she's got. Actually has kind of on the rest of her skin. Now that does look like a bit of a wound. It's obviously bugging her, and I wonder where it's come from. Fascinating stuff, this.
So we are searching. I found really fresh leopard tracks, and I think it's shadow. And they went into this block over here, or actually over there, but I just wanted to check. I heard some Franklin's alarm calling. I'm trying for a last minute connect. It very much frustrates me when I get fresh tracks and I don't find the animal. So we apologize. I know you guys were having a wonderful time with the hyenas and the cubs, but unfortunately a gremlin crept into the Wendy's somehow, and James is busy fiddling. Hopefully they'll be up and running shortly. What I'm hoping is Shadow has come into this block, and she quite often likes to walk almost straight onto Impala plains. So we are literally going to edge our way across. I feel a little bit of leopard blood. What about you, Andrew? We want to film all the big cats all the time, unless they're wild. has been beaten with a large stick. I'm going to send you back to James for the last minutes of the show unless we find this leopard. But it's been great having you, and don't forget to join us bright and early for the sunrise safari.
Hello everybody, I believe we're live. Communications issue is a little bit difficult here, but we have a picture, and that's the most important thing. And there's the little baby. So, fascinating stuff. I think, just to reiterate, I don't know what you heard and what you didn't while the screen was going black. But I think there's a tunnel that goes all the way through the termite mound. That is not uncommon. I'm still convinced that there's only one cub of this age here. There is a 7-week-old cub in there, I think, unless she's moved. I think it's highly unlikely that she's moved. And I don't know how much of that whooping calling you got, but it was stunning to see how the sound echoed through the bush. And just, I don't know if you can appreciate how unusual that is. I've heard baboons shouting. They make a much louder noise. If I was to stand here and make the loudest noise I could, it would not reverberate through the bush at all. Look at that injury. She really is a mangy creature. I wonder if it isn't some sort of eczema. And Maryland and Ontario, you're just confirming that that tunnel does go all the way through. I thought it did, because I think I've seen the 7-month-old go into that side, at least 7-week-old, go in there and come out the other side. So lots of excavating, and I think what that means is that this is an old den site. It's been used very often, because each new cub that's born here will dig its own little shelf to lie on. And as Raisa says, oh, look at her. Yeah, that's not the scarlet. Raisa, you say that there's something unusual happening at the den all the time. I have to agree with you. It's always fascinating. I could quite happily, if there were hyenas here, spend all day, and I think I might actually, the next time I either have a day off or there's a sort of cloudy day when I don't cook to death in the sun, I might come and sit here all day, just bring a book to read and see what happens. So this is probably Africa's most fascinating carnivore, I think. You know, most unpredictable, probably the least understood. That's fantastic. So CYN and Sleepy One, you're wondering where the 7-week-old cub is, probably down the den. She won't come out while this dominant hyena is here. We've seen her, even with her mother here, not want to come out with this dominant hyena sitting around the den here. Right, everybody, that's it for the afternoon. Thank you very much for your wonderful comments. You've had me in stitches of laughter the whole time. Thank you. Big thanks to Tibbs, thanks to Louise and Nikki in the final control, and to Brent, of course, and the inimitable Andrew. We will see you tomorrow at 0500 in the glory of the African dawn. Stay safe and happy. See you then. Bye-bye.